Morning, this is Pastor Blake. We're on day 5 and day 6, depending on how you want to handle the material today, but it's our last session on core practice number 8. And this has been a challenging week because the theme is perseverance and the core practice of persevering, that it is essential that we don't think of our Christian life just as how can I be on fire here this week? Yes, we need to be on fire this week, but we need to be thinking like a long distance runner. How do I pace myself? How do I train so that I can go the 26.2 miles? How do I persevere faithfully, fruitfully, and expectantly? So I want to take us to the end of the New Testament, teachings of Jesus found in Revelation chapters 2 and 3. By the way, many of you have maybe had a study on the book of Revelation, and maybe you just feel more confused than ever. But let me just tell you the bottom line when it comes to the book of Revelation. The bottom line when it comes to the book of Revelation is to help us understand who's going to win in the end, and to help us manage our expectations that conflict is to be expected and that we need to persevere, because if we persevere faithfully with King Jesus, he's going to win in the end, and we will be rewarded if we have persevered with him. So the key theme of the book of Revelation is this idea of perseverance. Revelation chapters 2 and 3 are 7 letters that Jesus speaks, are recorded and are given to 7 churches that represent all churches. And these churches all have different things that are commended, but all of them, for the most part, have something that needs to be addressed, either corrected or strengthened. But in each one, there's kind of a pattern. It starts the same way, and then it kind of has the same pattern. In some cases, things that are commended and things that are corrected. And then it always ends with a similar pattern. It always says something to this effect: to the one who is victorious. That's the NIV translation. I actually prefer the translation of some other Bibles that describe it as to the one who is, or to the one who overcomes. It's the same word. It's the word we get Nike from, the shoe brand. It's Nikeo. It means to win in Greek. To the one who is victorious over the long haul, who overcomes obstacles. It says that every time in all of the 7 letters. It says to the one who overcomes, and then it tells us a reward, a payoff. In this case, it says to the one who overcomes, and I like this kind of parenthetical statement that's added because it's not added on all of them. To the one who overcomes and does my will to the end. This is Jesus speaking. And this is what he means by overcoming. Does my will to the end. Not when it's easy, not when everyone is applauding, but does my will to the end, even when there is great difficulty, opportunity for disappointment and disillusionment, and wondering when this is ever going to come to a head. The one who does my will to the end, the one who overcomes. In this case, it says, I will give this one authority over the nations. In other cases, it says, I'll give for them to eat from the tree of life, meaning they'll have eternal life. And so there's always some kind of reward that is described. But the key idea, the thing I want you to really wrap your mind around, is that the entire book of Revelation, particularly this kind of setup in these first couple of chapters 2 and 3, is to challenge us that despite the opposition that we're going to face, wherever you are, whatever context you're in, you're going to be facing it, are you going to persevere? It's essential that you do. And so I want you to be putting this into practice. All that we've been talking about this week. I always say, do not skip this part, because these teachings are not just for you to gain head knowledge. There's better teachers out there. There's other people that could be taking you in a different level and maybe uncovering new insights. But what I'm trying to help us do with this M2820 material that I call a manual for those apprenticing with Jesus is that we are looking to put into practice these very fundamental behaviors that Jesus is asking from us. Things like praying and fasting and being in community. But here, today, it's not just implementing this one core practice. In a sense, this idea of persevering has to do with all of the core practices. Specifically, I'm saying, how will you guard your heart so that you don't become disillusioned or distracted and therefore lose your passionate commitment to Jesus? When I set the stage for this week and I did a larger teaching on Matthew chapter 13 in the parable of the sower, I was trying to point out to you that two big temptations we have. The one, to become disillusioned, to face hardship, and if our roots are not down deep enough, we'll just kind of wander away. We're saying it's not worth it. Or the other challenge is to become distracted by the worries of this life or by the deceitfulness of wealth. So how are you going to guard your heart? Because you're going to be tempted to become disillusioned. You're going to be tempted to become distracted. And if you become disillusioned or distracted, then you will not have a passionate commitment. You will not likely endure to the end. And so what kind of practices can you put into your life? I suspect many of the core practices are exactly what we need to do. Being in community, being authentic with some people, and sharing our struggles with them and helping them to challenge us and to sharpen us and to encourage us. Making a disciplined plan for how we're going to be in the Word. When we're all fired up about Jesus or when we're not, we still have made a commitment to being in the Word. Or to a prayer pattern, or to a commitment to fasting. Guess what? You're not going to be fasting for very long if you kind of lost your interest in Jesus. You're going to find an excuse to reject fasting. But if you kind of keep it out there and just say, okay, why have I stopped fasting? I used to fast every Friday until 4 in the afternoon as kind of my way of connecting with the historic church that used to always fast on Fridays. And remembering the death of Jesus. And I was doing that, but now I've kind of put it aside. Is that kind of revealing something about where my heart is? So I want you to be thinking about what are some things that you're going to make sure you do so that you guard your heart, so that you do not lose your first love of Jesus and being his follower. May God help you. May God help me as we walk this path and we persevere in our love and obedience to Jesus. God bless you.
Chasing after all that you